Serbian Corner.
What?
DNBA Live.
What a letdown.
There we go. I mean, I'd be
mail.
down for a Serbian Corner. I'd be totally down for a Serbian Corner.
I know. I thought I got like really excited. Now I'm a little bummed out.
Well, actually, Eric, it was a bit involving you. I don't know if you got that email. We were going to ask you to be our Serbian, but
That's great. I'm happy to take that mantle.
What's up, guys? Welcome into the DNVR Nuggets podcast, the DNBA Show on a Monday, Mailbag Monday. We are presented, of course, by Draftkings Sportsbook. When you download the Draftkings Sportsbook app, make sure to use the code DNVR when you sign up. I'm Harrison Wynn hosting today, joined alongside, I'll say it again, two of my greatest pals in the world.
whoa.
To my virtual right, or to my virtual left, I believe, we've got Brendan Vogt.
What's cracking, fellas? I was going to host today, but we've got some sensitive topics, so I just threw it to Green. I pulled the pin out and I just threw it to Harrison.
Such a coward.
Yep. I accept this criticism.
Yeah, Vogt threw the hosting duties on me literally 2 minutes before we were supposed to go live.
I watched it happen.
Just threw him to me like NBA players throw the ball to some, role player at the end of a shot clock violation or something.
That's right. You're my rookie. Take this
just
turnover.
gave me a ticking time bomb. Also joined to my virtual bottom by Eric. You know him as D-Line.
Bros, what a day. Can you believe two things? Number one, we're best friends. I just learned this for the second time. I forgot it over the weekend. Now we're back, baby. I've just never felt better. And I'm ready to get into some sensitive topics that make Vogt very uncomfortable.
Let's go. Hey, you got that nice backdrop. I love how you're just chained to your office now. Like you just live in the DNVR. It's a Space Jam-esque agreement with Spano where you just...
Well, no, like I know that you guys come from the world where jobs are sort of like a weird nebulous idea that you sort of float around, you talk for an hour, then you disappear back into the multiverse.
That's right.
I actually just show up and I just work in an office. That's like what jobs are. Most people don't understand this. Brendan's mind is boggled.
I didn't know that was still an option.
I'm not surprised by any of it because every time I've ever got on a Zoom or a show with you, you were always in the same exact spot in your apartment. So now you're just in the same exact spot in the office. I'm not surprised by any of it.
You'll note that anytime there is something that comes into the Slack that either is asking for or is absolutely not asking for a response, I give one because I'm right there at my desk.
I have noticed that.
The guy never logs off. Never. Like you guys were saying, on the show today, we got some news to hit on. Chauncey Billups is going to be the new head coach in Portland. A lot of talk about that, so we'll touch on that. Phil Jackson is a racist, according to Scottie Pippen. Interesting comments from Scottie today. Trae Young is a little banged up. That might spell disaster for the Hawks. And then we'll get to the meat of the show, the mailbag. We asked for your questions. You guys delivered. So most of today's show will be a Monday mailbag, of course, like every Monday show will be. We've got this new format for the offseason going, guys, where we've got some new segments that we introduced starting last week. Wind on One, where I talk with somebody about something.
What a
usually
hit.
During Friday's show. It's a hit. There it is. Wind on One. Amazing graphic. Amazing. And we've also got another new / returning segment, the fan vote with Brendan Vogt, which I'm really looking forward to this week's edition.
Potentially filming tonight, maybe tomorrow night with some of you, the great volunteers at home. So if you want, by the way, if you want to be a part of some one-on-one battle trivia, hit me up on Twitter. I got you.
Hit them up. But yeah, Mondays will always be Mailbag Monday, so that will be the meat of today's show. First, though, got to start off with the biggest story in the NBA right now. Chauncey Billups is going to be the new head coach of the Portland Trailblazers. They got a press conference Tuesday, scheduled for Tuesday morning to announce this. So this thing is definitely going to happen. Guys, this seemed to me like a home run hire a couple weeks ago when, I always felt like Chauncey was going to be a really good coach in this league in the right situation. He's going into Portland with Damian Lillard, a superstar, a point guard who plays his same position. Those two, from all accounts, have a really good relationship and just rapport with one another. It felt like that was going to be a good fit. Portland, for the last several years has been a pretty stable organization with a stable front office. They've got ownership that's been in place for a long time. So everything signaled to me that this was going to be a home run hire. And then I learned about for the first time, which is crazy considering I grew up in Colorado, watched Chauncey Billups for like my whole upbringing, of these sexual assault allegations with Chauncey Billups from 1997. Now Damian Lillard might want out as a result of how this whole process has gone. This, to me, has gone from like what looked like a really good hire to a situation that looks like it's just going to combust. And I don't know how it's going to end up.
Yeah, I like that you framed it that way, because a Chauncey Billups hire somewhere in the NBA seemed inevitable right up until it became imminent. And then all of a sudden it was controversial. And that I mean, look, some folks were privy to this information for quite some time. I wasn't one of them. And just anecdotally, it seems like a lot of people that I know were not as well. And so that's sort of the strange thing is, on top of having to just sort of navigate this as media, as fans, which is just sort of weird and difficult as it were, there's this idea that, like, for most of us, this understanding of who this guy was, that this topic at all was hot and controversial, just kind of came out of nowhere. And so I think what you're seeing is a lot of people sort of processing this information at the same time that they're reacting to it.
Yeah, that's just it. Like, this is like real prisoner of the moment kind of stuff where it feels, I mean, obviously we just learned about this. Like you said, like, I've grown up in Colorado. Chauncey Billups is a hero of mine. I've always really looked up to him. I really, really want him to get a job in the NBA. I hoped that it would be with the Denver Nuggets. Like, I thought he was going to be the GM of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and like really bummed me out because I was like, can't we get him to be in the coaching tree of the Denver Nuggets?
Right.
This just came out, and it feels like what was discussed like just happened, right? Like, it's this new information. It being new feels like the act itself just took place. And, you know, obviously we're dealing with very patchworked information that came from a long time ago and things that we're legally allowed to know about, legally not allowed to. We just don't have any of the information. We don't know exactly what happened, other than we know that there was a settlement that took place at a certain point. We know certain bits and pieces, but it's like what a crummy situation that now a guy that like we just have all, me specifically, have like just cheered for and have championed and just really want to get that opportunity that I personally feel like he has absolutely he's earned and deserves because of his basketball acumen and like what a pillar he has been in the society at large. Like, now you're left to sort of like question these things. It's very confusing. I hate that he's going to Portland for the first place, just because I don't like the fact that Portland could benefit from the leader that we all know Chauncey Billups to be. But now it's like they don't even really want him. So now he's like sort of damaged goods in the eyes of a lot of people, which angers me in a different way. It's confusing. I don't know where to lean with it. But we just don't know anything, and it sucks. And now we're left here to sort of try and pick up the pieces and comment on it. It's brutal.
And, you know, it's interesting from a Portland perspective, because it certainly seems like they were on a similar timeline. Hiring Chauncey Billups was something that had circled, was a normal thing that other teams had considered doing. Now they're in line for one of the strangest, if not most difficult press conferences that we're ever going to see, and really tough decisions that, Harrison, are even further clouded, right, by Damian Lillard's status in Portland, or up in the air status.
Yeah, I mean, that's been kind of how this story has evolved. And yeah, just to go back to what you were saying, guys, this didn't come up, at least I don't remember it coming up really publicly at all when he was almost named the Cavs general manager. Like, he was almost hired as Cleveland's GM. The Cavs lowballed him and he didn't take that offer. He's been an assistant with the Clippers. Right now he was on ESPN's like top NBA pregame and postgame show, and this stuff never came up. So yeah, it comes out now, and it's really sent like the Trailblazers into what seems like a tailspin, at least from the outside, because what's now happened is there's a real rift, it seems like, between Damian Lillard and Blazers management and ownership because of this. The kind of timeline of events here, and I've got some thoughts on this, so I'll lay out the facts and then throw it to you guys. But we all remember when Damian Lillard came out publicly on the record and said, I want Jason Kidd or Chauncey Billups. Those are the two guys I want to be my head coach. Now, obviously, when this story from 1997 was brought to light over the last couple of days, Dame faced a ton of backlash on social media, unexpectedly, from fans. And, now it seems like that really got to him and affected him. And now it feels like he could be asking for a trade from the Trailblazers any minute. What was kind of your guys' reaction to that?
Well, first of all, I mean, Eric, I don't know. I can't remember the last time Lillard was really under any sort of pressure or scrutiny. This is a guy who's been put on a pedestal, in a lot of ways, rightfully so, for a long time. So one of the things that's just surface level to me, Eric, interesting is watching Dame react to being something less than the darling,
Yeah, Dame Lillard has really built his reputation and his legacy on being a loyal guy. He doesn't chase the ring. What did he say to Paul George? You guys are some suckers scared of the grind, moving around from team to team. And to me, this seems like he sees an opportunity to sort of get a free pass, to get out of Portland in a way that he can say well, what was I supposed to do? I was put in this situation where you guys wanted me to go along with this criminal or whatever. I mean, it to me, it seems pretty despicable, honestly. It feels like a not in good faith argument, especially because what we're talking about, that he was advocating for him in the first place. I just feel, to me, this feels like Chauncey Billups is being put in a place where everybody is using this new information to sort of vault themselves up to a higher level of morality and a higher level of I don't know. It bothers me though. It just feels very disingenuous, and it feels like Dame Lillard just wants to get out of Portland. This is he views as his get out of jail free card, and it sucks. I don't like it at all.
Yeah, the beef between Paul George and Damian Lillard goes back years, but the most recent one was when Lillard replied to Paul George on Instagram and said, keep switching teams, running from the grind.
Right. And look, we know these sort of thoughts and notions, will Dame leave? Is this worth it for him? It's all sort of been bubbling under the surface
forever,
prior to any of this. I do want to say, I believe Dame when Dame says that he didn't know about either of these guys' histories.
Sure.
I certainly didn't with Chauncey. A lot of people clearly didn't. Dame's not much older than I. This happened when he was 7 or 8. And more importantly, at a time where very clearly stories could be swept under rugs, in a way they can't now. So it all comes to light. But it's look, I see someone asking why we're talking about this. Because why what does this have to do with Denver? Chauncey is a Colorado icon. B, Portland Trailblazers division rivals. But C, because
it's also this is the biggest story in the league, right?
Biggest story in the league. Yeah. And we talk about Chauncey all the time in this show. But, the ramifications are going to be interesting. For Dame, it was already a question, should he come back to Portland? Now he's dealing with new coach, but also he personally now has come under fire. He now has this newfound sort of sense of responsibility for something that he didn't do. And I can understand how that could be frustrating from his perspective.
Yeah. So when Chris Haynes
and what else? What would be the next thing? That's all of the reasons we could Okay, sorry, go ahead.
It's also the offseason. The Nuggets are not playing.
Oh yeah. So when Chris Haynes came out with the report yesterday, that this may push Damian Lillard out of Portland, and I feel like his source there was definitely Lillard. And that to me was Lillard speaking directly to one person and one person only, Neil O'Shea, the Blazers GM, who I have no idea how he still has a job. Neil O'Shea should have been fired years ago. He has tried to make the McCollum Lillard backcourt work for years and years and years when it's just clearly such a bad fit on paper. I don't know how he's still around. But anyways, I feel like that whole article was directed at Neil O'Shea because I actually believe Lillard when it kind of came out that he wasn't the first person to say Chauncey Billups should be the coach. Sure. I actually believe him in that because talking to people in Portland who cover the team, Chauncey Billups, everybody had a feeling he was going to be the head coach the second the Blazers season ended in Game 6 against Denver. Before Lillard came out and put that on record, probably even before Terry Stotts got fired. Neil O'Shea's guy from the very beginning, even before Terry Stotts was let go, was Damian Lillard. That was always the guy they were going to fire. And I actually believe Dame when he kind of said, I was handed a list and Billups and Jason Kidd were the guys that I really like from that list. I really believe him. So sure. I feel like he was talking to Neil O'Shea totally with that. But at the same time, that doesn't absolve Dame of any blame in how he's handled it since, because he has definitely handled it very poorly since that has happened.
Absolutely. Yeah. I also go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's just tough, man. Like, people are able to process and understand the idea of people going through changes, growing, learning, becoming better. People understand this very clearly with Kobe Bryant. Like, Kobe Bryant went through something not so dissimilar, but people had time to deal with it, and they were able to sort of see like the transformation that he seemingly went through, like his relationship with his daughter. He became the face in a lot of ways of the WNBA. People saw him as like a hero. People were able. The problem with this Chauncey Billups news is that the timeline is so old, but again, people just learning about it now. It's like that for them, the healing process just started, right? Like, we understand as human beings the nuances and the complexity and what it is to be different at different stages in your life. And obviously certain things, are never okay. We don't know all of the details. We're not rendering judgment, but the idea that something happened in the year 1997 that makes it so that Chauncey Billups is persona non grata. He can no longer coach the NBA. He's earned this in many people's minds, but now he's not worthy of it. The Portland Trailblazers should just move on. Like, it's bothersome because it just is just so myopic, and it doesn't really look at the totality of the human experience, right?
Sure. I mean, I do want to disagree a little bit. Like, there is a difference between, I think, what are like really difficult and complicated sort of ethical discussions about what a second chance is and how much room we give other people to move on. And especially when the mistake is something as horrific as, let's be clear, rape, which is the accusation. But for me, I think what a lot of people who don't necessarily want to play judge, jury, and executioner, but want to acknowledge the fact that they just feel disappointed.
Sure.
There are other qualified candidates for jobs that do not have this history. And so I think that's just the source of the disappointment. I don't disagree with anything you're saying, by the way.
That's what I'm saying, though.
It's what makes it difficult.
Yes, sure. But we're talking about disappointment versus disqualification. Like, we're saying, like, Chauncey Billups in that assessment should be passed over for this job because he has something troublesome in his background that happened a long time ago. And there are other qualified candidates that do not, which should then bring them to the top of the list. But Chauncey Billups, probably the best candidate for this job. An unbelievable basketball mind. He's been hired at various levels throughout the NBA because of his intelligence, because of his basketball acumen. It just sucks that, like, I mean, I don't know if I'm advocating, like, wishing that we would have known about this a long time ago so that we could sort of like look at this in the lens that it deserves to be looked at this day and age. But, I mean, it is messy and it is difficult to look at every human being and sort of decide what is fair, what is not fair.
Sure,
I just wish we weren't talking about Chauncey Billups when it comes to this. Like, disappointment is a very, very apt phrase to use to describe this, because, man, that's the king of Park Hill we're talking about. Like, that's like, what are we're talking about Denver, Colorado. Like, we're talking about our guy and these really ugly words. And then you're forced to sort of like put into context again, the time frame. Like, we're talking about, as Adam told us, like, this is like within the first 15 games of him entering the NBA. So how old he is, I no excuses. No, I mean, I'm not glossing over anything that we're talking about. It's just it's complicated. It's complicated. Right. It's frustrating. And I wish that we weren't having this conversation.
Yeah. It just seems to me like this could end with Damian Lillard asking for a trade. And maybe he winds up on the Knicks. I don't know. That's what I've been hearing. Those are the rumblings. Those are the rumors. But it seems like a lot of trust has been lost between him and Neil O'Shea. Going back years, but especially after like the Nuggets beat the Blazers, and especially after Neil O'Shea seems like he handed Damian Lillard a list of coaches with two guys who had a very troubled past on that list. So let's hit a break real quick. When we come back, Milan, we will talk about the Nuggets. We will be answering a lot of questions, a lot of Nuggets-related questions, specifically Nuggets-related questions. So let's hit a break, and then we'll get back.
Yeah, number one question, right, is what do we think the Nuggets think about Chauncey Billups being hired as the Portland Trailblazers coach?
All right, guys, let's talk about Breckenridge Brewery, the official beer of DNVR. Regular seltzers now being sold in the bar. You guys know we love our Breck beers and the seltzers, but as we've told you many times already, Breckenridge Brewery is teaming up with the National Parks Conservation Association this year. Of course, we know the tragic fires in Colorado were devastating for so many reasons and to so many people. Breck is donating 1% of all their profits this summer to the National Parks Conservation Association. If you buy 1 pint or a pack of Breck brews, you're donating 1% to our great outdoors. We're going to be getting involved in this as well at the DNVR bar. We are. Just so you guys, there will be awesome events and collaborations. Make sure you check out breckbrew.com/ingoodco, like Colorado, breckbrew.com/ingoodco for more details. Also, as always, you can order from the farmhouse. Call 303-803-1380 from 12 to 8 p.m. Use code DNVR to save $5. Strava Craft Coffee, friends. DNVR 25. It's going to get you 25% off a single shipment. But you can also use that code to sign up for their subscription service. You'll get 25% off every shipment every 2, 4, 6, 8 weeks. Not 7. Write that down. Not 7. 2, 4, 6, 8 weeks. You choose what dosage, what flavor when it comes to you. Get the CBD infused coffee. Change your life. It changed mine. Strava Craft Coffee. It'll have you honking like
a goose. Let's go.
A goose.
For the podcast listeners.
Wow. If you want to, if that's what you want your life to be like,
you too can get in on this.
Kale, what's up? What's going on?
He has to be on for the music to play.
He just wanted to say hey.
I thought he had something.
Nope. He has to be in the show to play the music.
That makes a lot
so then
more
he just
sense.
Kale, next time you should come back on, Kale. Let's talk about this.
Yeah, I feel like if Kale's going to just come on like that, he's got to bring something to the show.
Yeah, do you have any takes, Kale? Not about Chauncey, but just other stuff.
No.
Oh, this is a
all right, thanks, Kale.
Good stuff,
Terrible
Kale. And that's our latest segment.
Oh my god.
Sherbert with Sorbo.
All right, we're back here on the DNVR Nuggets podcast. We are presented, of course, by DraftKings. Make sure to use code DNVR when you sign up and download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Let's get to the main portion of this Monday show. It's called a Mailbag Monday for a reason.
Oh, because it's Monday?
That's
right.
It's
Monday.
That's the only reason.
Because it had a nice alliteration to it, and it's on a Monday.
Let's freaking go, dude. Do you realize Kale did not get one word out when he came on screen? Kale, I cannot stress how poorly you did when you came up with it. I just can't stress that enough.
You guys suck.
Bad second appearance, I gotta say.
Yeah, now you're
underwhelming second appearance.
Unbelievable.
All right, Vogt. Let's fire up some questions.
Oh my god, I lost it. I'm trying to find someone asked us this question. I'm gonna find it. I'll shout you in a second. But here's the question. I'll pose it to the group first.
I would just like to point out, Vogt's as much of a mess as I just was, and somehow my whole career was just ended.
Absolutely
I don't know how that happened.
I know, and one of us is trained to do. One of us is expected to do this. It's not you. Okay, Scott Bellou wants to know. Will MPJ ever be more than just a shooter? He had an interesting preface sort of talking about the way MPJ avoids physical play. Maybe that's related to his injury history. At the end of the day, the question in front of us, will he ever be more than just a shooter? I thought that was interesting, Harrison. What do you think?
Well, I think he's much more than a shooter even right now. He's a great rebounder. He's a great off-ball mover, I think, more so in the regular season than in the playoffs. But I think he's more than a shooter right now. That being said, if you're looking for him to take that next step and become more of a well-rounded player, yeah, he's got to for Denver to reach their ceiling and for Denver to win a championship with this core. I think he's got to, but I think just calling him a shooter right now is selling him a little bit short.
What do you agree with that last point, Eric?
Well, I only heard half of it, but I do believe that calling MPJ merely a shooter is exquisitely short-sighted. And MPJ has he has so many physical gifts that, man, like I think I mentioned, like, we've watched him on television quite a bit. When I actually got to go to the arena finally, when it was open back up and I saw him in real life, I was like, what? This guy's he's an Adonis. This guy has so many, he's super tall, super muscular. There's no way that this guy is not going to be able to figure out how to be at least a little bit more bothersome on the defensive end. Like right now, his issues are just between the ears. Like he just doesn't know where to be at the right time. He gets tricked. He gets like rubbed off. But like, just the simple physical like prowess or dominance that he has, he can just put his arms up and make it difficult on people. He just needs to be there at the right time. Like he sometimes comes over, helps on weak side, blocks some shots, can be in the way. Like, I mean, it's funny to sort of look at this year and be like, well, this is all we're ever going to get out of MPJ. We know that because the year's over. And just think back to like the conversation about Jamal Murray right before he signed that big deal. We're like, well, he's really inconsistent. We don't know what we're going to get out of it.
I was doing it every day.
Totally. I mean, it's the fact that he's this good this early in his actual playing career should be nothing short of just super encouraging to anybody that's watched him. He's only going to get better. Like, of course, he's going to be more than a shooter.
That's one of the top lessons I learned from Jamal, which was like the first sort of big picture thing I was like sinking my teeth into, sort of doing this job.
Yes.
You can focus way too much on what young players are not, as opposed to what they already do and what they can be.
And we're also coming off of playoffs where, he looked really bad at times and
he looked terrible.
He's got to become a way better defender. He's just got to, improve in a lot of different areas. His just strength is how physical he is with the ball. But there's also value to being a really, really good regular season player too. Like people forget that a lot of times. There's value to just getting dominating at times like he did in the regular season. Like that's 82 games where you gotta show up for.
It's going to be at the center of surviving this stretch without Murray, right? Especially if getting Jokic any rest and winning in the meantime is somehow.
Milad is on one today. Milad, you're just heckling us from the chat. He hates MPJ. He doesn't want us to talk about anything that's not directly Nuggets related.
Yeah, Milad, let us know when we hit the right topic for you, brother. We'll shoot you a message.
MPJ just turned in the most efficient shooting performance ever since Wilt Chamberlain during the regular season. You don't think that's valuable?
Depending on a perspective, but you're right. I mean, he was really good. I do think also in the playoffs, the way everything sort of shook out with who was out and who did play, like a lot of the stuff to Wynn's first point that was making him so great in the regular season, it was a little less of that. Like, hey, go crash the offensive boards, right? Or like he wasn't necessarily as clearly a power forward drawing and creating the same sort of mashup issues as he did alongside Murray, Barton, Gordon. So obviously everything changed for him in the playoffs and it was disastrous. What's very
if Jamal Murray had been healthy, Michael Porter Jr.'s playoffs would have been looked at in a much different light.
Drastically different, man. Like there was such a spotlight on him. And of course there was, because Denver just had literally nobody else to put the ball in the hoop consistently. Like they needed him to be great, to be absolutely phenomenal, to go on a longer than they did. And he wasn't, and they flamed out and got swept. But if Jamal Murray had been there, like he would have been in that third option role that he was so comfortable in. And everything would have been framed so much differently. And we stress that point because that's the context in Denver. It's not Minnesota drafting Porter and saying like, hey, you got to grow into the fulcrum now.
Right.
And the thing about those five guys together, like when it was the Nuggets that went into those playoffs, it's very easy. You just go, okay, well, let's shut Porter down. When it's those five guys, it becomes a thing that you actually have to remember to do, as you're also concerned with all these various ways the Nuggets can beat you. One last point, as I'm on a bit of a tangent, but what's most encouraging to me about the stuff that Porter has to improve on is that it is stuff that he can improve on, right? So first and foremost, that core strength, lower body strength, that is something we typically see improve for players over the years with an NBA strength and conditioning program. And this guy's kind of on a delayed timeline there with the time he missed in college and in the NBA. On top of that, he has yet to have a full offseason as an NBA player. So there's time still to put in the work, to change his physical profile, to add, to the point of this question, that in between the rim and the 3-point line stuff, creating, getting his own shot off, taking the contact, there's still time for that to come. So I'm going to avoid the mistake I made with Jamal, and I'm not going to pitch in this guy into what he can't do just yet.
Yeah, I feel like we should take it upon ourselves to prove what can happen in a full NBA offseason. We should all get into NBA quality caliber strength and conditioning before the season starts up again, just to show that it can be done. Like I'll lead this charge. I'll show you what it can look like when I'll show up with a 6-pack plus for the opening tip of the first game.
I'll sign you to a max contract if that happens. I'll max you.
I'm in.
I'll super max you. Yo, would you trade Michael Porter Jr. for Chris Middleton?
Oh, that is tough. What are the terms? What are the Just
say straight up.
Right, because Porter's going to get that big contract. So
for the sake of this argument, straight up.
Wow.
Look, I think Porter has a chance to be a considerably better player than Middleton can even sniff beat. That said, at a certain point, you have an eye to the timeline in the window, yeah? And in terms of keeping everyone together and Barton and Gordon, and is it a time where you can pounce and strike? I'm not saying
Chad is on a firm no. Chad is
I don't think it's a firm no. I wouldn't, but I'm not as firm as the chat, man. I kind of get it with regards to it. This would be all different if Murray was healthy. I think it would be a much easier question to answer.
Oh my God, dude. I would have a long sleepless night of trying to decide whether or not I would take that deal. Because we know what Chris Middleton is. He's showing us, and MPJ is pure potential at this point.
Chris Middleton is 38 points on 15 of 26 shooting. He's also 15 points on 6 of 23 shooting in game 1.
I can't believe I'm being given an ultimatum of the way I answer this question. Lesbian Duck could be out on me if I say
Dude, that's a lot of pressure. I got to get my take in there before she even had time to type it up.
Dude.
Here's my biggest concern about Michael Porter Jr. right now. It's not on offense. I am not concerned at all about his playoff offense. It's defensively, and I can't sit here and say today that he's going to be a much better defender in the playoffs next year than he was this last year.
Right.
And that's kind of scary. That's scary. But that being said, it's actually a maybe for me. It's actually a maybe.
Oh, no.
I actually think offensively
might be out on you. Maybe be out on you.
I kind of think offensively Porter might be a better fit because what he actually is one of the all-time, I think, catch and shoot threats.
Right.
Chris Middleton is a little less of a catch and shoot darling as you might think based off the way some guys talk about him. A lot of the Bucks offense sometimes is can Chris Middleton beat Kevin Durant right now?
It's because the Milwaukee Bucks offense is literally the offense that I ran in 3rd grade. It's somebody dribbles up the floor, tries to score. Giannis does it
to the 7-foot guy that can.
Then it's Chris Middleton's turn. Then it's Drew Holiday's turn. Then Bryn Forbes gets it. It's really one of the worst offenses I've ever seen. I just can't believe it.
I get this comment from Glocky, and I half agree with it. We're gonna look back at this conversation and laugh. I'm with you, man. I'm as high on Porter.
We didn't bring it up
as anyone is, but I do sort of get if Jamal Murray were healthy next year, with the way all the teams look right now, it would be hard not to convince yourself maybe this is the window. And Porter maybe is still 2 years away, where Middleton is a guy who can do all that right now. All that said, Murray won't be back to the playoffs next year. And I think if it's the 3 guys of Murray, Porter, and Jokic, even if you miss this window, you'll probably get a chance to retool around those 3 again at some point.
Whereas we did not just compare Buddy Hield to Chris Middleton in the comments. We did not just do that, guys. Come on.
So I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, right? Whereas Middleton sort of accelerates the entire timeline. But at some point, those are the decisions that are made.
Let me tell you my dilemma here. My dilemma here is that every time we ever have played the Milwaukee Bucks, Chris Middleton has lit us up. He comes into...
I've long said that Chris Middleton is the best fit next to
he comes
Nikola
into
Jokic
Pepsi Center / ballerina, and he just absolutely like. There have been so many times I've listened to the radio after the games, and they're like, "Well, if Tim Conley lets Chris Middleton leave the arena without offering him a contract, he needs to be committed." And I'm like, man, I really wish you could have Chris Middleton. He's so good. He's inconsistent, but the thing that I love about Chris Middleton is that he now is in the most important games of his career, and he is showing out, right? Like
he showed out in one game.
Okay, that's true. That's true. Well, but he has showed out in many ways. Like he's been an important part of a team that, like, he's not scoring the amount that he scored last game every game, but he's an important piece every game. And the Milwaukee Bucks just keep on keeping on. Oh, I mean,
every crunch time,
dude. I might do it. I don't know. I'm so
every crunch time half court possession, like no matter how hard Giannis dominates, it's like 2 minutes left and it's the fourth, and it's half court. It's like all eyes on Chris Middleton. That's been his run.
I might do it. I don't feel good about this.
Let's move on before we get in trouble.
Yeah,
it's too late, dude.
Can't believe I'm like so against changing anything about the team right now. And
that's
Harrison,
I know that's the thing. Is it like? And that's me too.
No, I totally see that. No, like if the Nuggets go down, I want them to go down with the guys.
Yeah, you're right. I'm out. Get the hell out of here, Chris Middleton. What do we need you for? We got MPJ.
You know what, Glocky, you're right. I'm already laughing at that discussion.
Oh, Kale's muted.
I just want to bring up Josh. He's asking how a retool happens. We forget Tim Conley's superpower is drafting.
He's great. He's great at drafting.
Better third appearance, Kale. Better third appearance.
No, it was terrible. Next time you come on, make sure you're not muted as you come on and start talking.
All right, what do you guys?
Let me address that question. How they kind of build around the edges is. Well, I think there's two ways you can do it. You can find really good players that might want to come to Denver and contend for, less money, or you do what Tim Conley does best and you find diamonds in the rough. You find guys in Europe like Facu Campazzo who are going to come over and you sign as free agents. You find the next PJ Dozier. Like that's how you have to work the margins when you have three guys on likely max deals.
And this is the dilemma that every team that has an established core then faces. Like okay, cool. We know what the heart of the team is, and like how now do we work around the edges? I mean, you saw every team that has like some sort of dynastical type run does that, where then you start to bring in like exactly like you're saying, like older guys, older vets that will accept the minimum or something just above that want to be on a contending team because they've just been sort of floating around the league without direction. And exactly, we've got Zeke Naji, we've got young players, and like you just got to think that Tim Conley and co are going to continue to keep that cupboard stocked so that as soon as somebody's got to go, Dad, somebody else steps up in their place, and that's how you do it. But the thing is that what is not a problem for the Denver Nuggets, which is a problem for almost every other team that's not contending right now, is establishing that core. Establishing the core is the most difficult part of team building.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. You'd rather have a great point, Eric. You'd rather have the other problem.
Yes.
Whereas I think like if you go for Middleton now and you whiff, you're sort of like,
how are you going to whiff? Okay. You're not whiffing on Middleton.
Well, that's a good point. He'd still be a very good. Whiff as in literally do not win the title. I've just turned into a newspaper writer there for 10 seconds.
Oh my God, dude. Welcome to Rings Podcast starring Big Market Vogt, dude.
With a Z. Big Market Brendan. Okay, Nolan Rogers wants to know, do you guys expect the trade market or free agency to be more likely route for the Nuggets to get involved with this offseason? I like this question because there's a right answer to there's like an actual answer to it, I think. But Harrison, I'll throw it to you to make sure I'm right first.
He's got the teacher edition.
Yeah.
I would guess free agency, right? Is that what you were thinking?
Yeah. I was actually going to say, like there's not really a ton of routes, to be honest, in my opinion. Like I just don't know.
So wait,
I think they're hoping at retaining guys, to be honest. You know what I mean? As much as they can, but they're not going to have a lot of money to spend in free agency.
But so wait, you wanted Harrison to give the right answer, and then you had a non-answer as your answer. Is that it's tough?
Yeah, that's exactly right. What I'm trying to say is good luck.
Yeah. I think how the Nuggets are going to add to this team is they're going to take somebody in the draft. in the first round, which when you're talking also, like you were saying, Eric, about how you continue to build around a core that's all on max deals, it's very important if you're a team like the Nuggets and not in LA or New York to keep that pipeline moving. So they've got Zeke Naji coming up right now. They need to get somebody else in that pipeline. So I could see that. And then, if there's going to be a Paul Millsap replacement, that guy I would think would be in a similar mold maybe to Paul, like a veteran who you can count on for some minutes if you need it. So right. Low price free agents and through the draft, that's how I see the most turnover on the Nuggets roster going.
And Josh Cousteau, you're right. Malone does not play rookies. That's why you have to then now this next year, you can expect that he'll play Zeke Naji, no longer a rookie. But then you have to have somebody come and take Zeke Naji's spot on the bench and learn how it's done, which is why having a successful draft strategy and like drafting the right guys year over year after year, year after year after year turns into, a team that is contending for decades or decade at least.
What's Bull's future? We've had a couple people asking here. So here's what I would do. I have a plan for the Denver Nuggets and Bull. That's foolproof that I would implement this summer if it's possible. I don't even know if it's possible on his 2-way contract, or if they're going to have to release him if he wants out. Like, I don't know how it's going to work. Could you imagine if the Nuggets were able to bring Bull to Summer League?
Okay.
And have him go wild, go absolutely crazy, win MVP of Summer League, and then you could trade him.
What? Okay, so your plan is that Bull must win MVP of Summer League, and then we'll be able to recoup some of the value out of him.
I'm just thinking right now, I can't imagine his trade value is high. I don't know if he has any trade value. But if you put him in a Summer League environment, I can guarantee you the guy's going to look incredible. So, maybe at that point, he'll look incredible. And at that point, I feel like his trade value would be way higher than it is right now. I don't know if that's possible. Like, I don't know if that's going to happen, but that's the thought I had.
This is real 7D chess you're playing here. So.
You're also just trying.
It's not like an unheard of thing to do.
Just send a guy to Summer League. I think. You're also not trying to convince the world this is your next MPJ. Like, you just want that second rounder back. I think if you can get to that point, I think that's possible.
But whatever. The Nuggets bought that pick after not having a pick. They just showed up. I don't know if you guys remember. You were live. I was watching you. The Nuggets had no picks that night. It seemed like a complete disaster. Bull kept falling. Now we maybe understand why he kept falling. The Nuggets pop in. They buy that pick just out of nowhere, which they could easily do again if they felt like they needed to get into the second round at some point. I don't know. For me, Bull, what Bull really needs is he needs playing time. He needs consistent playing time. He needs to have his terrible habits broken and honestly his attitude adjusted. And I think a lot of that maybe comes from, the confidence that is garnered from becoming Summer League MVP.
Let's go,
really,
baby.
Really what he needs a full season in the G League.
Yeah, totally.
Whether or not the Nuggets, that's going to be with the Nuggets, I don't know. But he has absolutely no trade value, none. Who would trade for Bull at this point? He's shown himself to be not worthy of even garbage time on the Denver Nuggets. There are flyers, and then there are what are we willing? If you are a team that is interested in acquiring Bull, you just sit back and wait for him to be cut.
Wow, right. I think that's what teams might be doing.
Yeah, but what the Nuggets should do is get him into the G League with this new unnamed G League team, which is hopefully named the Miners, and I can't wait to see it.
It won't be. Hope is for fools. Let's hit a read real quick, and then we'll hit the rest of these questions. Also, members, paywall members, DNVR members, Discord members. We're going to read those Discord questions at the end of the show, after the show. You want to hear those good answers, you got to pay for that.
When you come on, can you at least say hello? Or here comes the music or something. It's weird that you just show up. Okay.
Can you make that a drop for the? Okay. Anyway, gotta talk about Green Mountain Dental Group. Several DNVR listeners have switched over to Green Mountain Dental Group over the years. We talk about them all the time. You should know the spiel by now. If you don't, family-owned dentist, best damn family-owned dentist in the metro area. By the way, huge Colorado sports fans. That's why we're partners with them. We like the local peeps. We like the Colorado peeps. If you schedule a cleaning, an x-ray, an exam, right? Those are the words. You get a free Sonicare toothbrush. That thing's expensive, folks. And if you get a Sonicare toothbrush, you're really just going to be putting off your nice cleaning. So get it. Take care of it. That's the move. What else was going to talk to you about?
Also, stop trying to...
I'm at work, dude. What?
Yeah. But
I don't know. Your face does look very red right now.
But Kale, how can you please stop trying to sex up our ads by taking your glasses off?
Yeah, dude.
We
had a company meeting about no sex in the ads. Speaking of which, Manscaped is here. 4th generation performance package is out. You can buy that now. It comes with the Lawnmower 4.0. I don't know if you guys remember the first time you mowed your lawn. I actually don't at all. I do remember the first time I caught myself doing that, though, and it hurt a lot. Yeah. And then that just sort of stays with you, as you can imagine, because you can't really tuck that away.
That's called PTSD.
Yeah. So that's one of the things I love most about the Lawnmower 4.0. It's really, really hard to cut yourself. I've tried. LED light as well. Charges in the shower. It's that good stuff. Check out Manscaped and use code DNVR to get 20% off plus free worldwide shipping. as our international friends can tell you.
Your balls will thank you.
And then I think there was another ad read. I might have forgotten
There should be one more. There's usually 3 on the second break.
Yeah, Chevalier Mortgage. Here's the deal, guys. It's stressful trying to buy a house right now. If you have attempted this process, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The housing market is crazy in CO. This sounds like the start to like a bad like Seinfeld impression. You know what I mean? You guys know what I'm talking about. All right. Anyway.
So how about that Denver real estate market, man? I can't sell my house for shit.
So let Mike and Virginia Chevalier take the burden off this extremely difficult process. They will alleviate so much stress and worry off your plate. They've got a fun perk for DNVR listeners. Visit them at DNVR Mortgage and enter to win a free DNVR shirt or hat of your choice when you do. Most importantly, get set up with a free consultation to discuss all of your options. That's DNVRmortgage.com. Ready for this? Here come their phone numbers. You can call Virginia directly at 303-257-6578, or you can call Mike directly at 970-412-2472. Michael Chevalier, NMLS number 1931006. Virginia Chevalier, NMLS number 1910631. Check out Chevalier Mortgage.
And before we get back,
anything to add?
Oh, Kale, yeah, go ahead.
Shout out Chevalier Mortgage. They've hooked a lot of people up, and they're good people. So shout out them.
Wow,
great appearance, Kev. Great appearance.
Are we like doing that natural transition in a pod where we just make the producer a character, like without their permission? Okay, cool.
You mean the guy that we call super producer Kale?
Oh, right. I guess we started doing that a long time ago.
Real quick before we get back to the questions, guys, I'm going to throw a DraftKings pick of the week out there for this week. I'm just on the DraftKings app right now. Phoenix to win Game 5 boosted to plus 100.
I'm off.
So.
Sucker bet.
You're off it.
Off it.
You're off Phoenix tonight. You like the Clippers tonight?
I do. I like the Clips tonight.
Well, I like the Suns tonight. I like them at plus 100. You can get that on DraftKings. That's my DraftKings pick of the week.
You know what a great pick is, I believe, is that another boost is for Reggie Jackson to record 25 plus combined points and assists. And he's done this every game.
Except tonight. Every game except tonight. That's usually how those happen. No, it's not a bad bet. It's really not a bad bet. All right, we're back here on the DNVR Nuggets podcast. We are presented by DraftKings. Of course, use the code DNVR when you download DraftKings Sportsbook. Let's get back to some questions. We got about 10 minutes here. We're going to answer more questions for 10 minutes, and then we're actually going to go another 15 minutes. And that's going to be behind the paywall on thednvr.com. So if you really want the juicy answers to these questions, if you really want the wind chimes, you're going to have to go behind the paywall to get the bonus 15 minutes of this Mailbag Monday pod on thednvr.com.
You sorry freeloading suckers. The bill is due. Your time is done. If you want to hear all 15 minutes, you got to get in, baby.
Yeah.
We do
And you
just
can,
make up stuff for the win. Just totally fictional reports.
Yeah. What I'm hearing out there.
Yeah. You guys can join the DNVR family, of course. Get a DNVR membership, $8.99 a month. Or you can get an annual subscription that comes out to $4.99 a month. Get that at thednvr.com
Dude, $5 a month.
subscribe.
I
And
lose
that way-
$5 a month.
Yeah, that way you can listen to the bonus 15-minute pod that will be going up on thednvr.com later today.
Dude, you lost lesbian deck also. I don't know what you did, but screw you, Harrison. I'm out on you too.
Am I still in, Duck? Talk to me. Talk to me.
Lesbian Duck was trying to call me out for my Joe Harris takes. I was laughed off this show in the preseason when I threw out a Will Barton for Joe Harris trade. You guys laughed me off the show.
Yeah,
What
did
do
you
you think
see
about-
game
Did
7?
you see how that you have to catch the season, bro?
We were laughing
guys-
again.
You guys laughed me off the
Did you
show.
have to catch the playoffs, Harrison, or no?
I did watch the playoffs. Tell me who you'd rather have right now.
Well, because one's about to leave the team. Yeah, I'd rather.
That's what I thought.
You're right. I like this question, guys. I'm just gonna. I'll do it. I'll call my own number here. Nuggets fanatic at FGZO12. Who will be the biggest impact player next year on the Nuggets, other than Jokic, MPJ, or the eventual return of Jamal Murray? So not the core guys, not the core three. Who's going to be the biggest impact player on the Nuggets?
Outside of the big three, the biggest impact player in the Nuggets next season is going to be PJ Dozier.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Really?
Yeah.
Elaborate.
Well, it's either Aaron Gordon or PJ Dozier or Zeke Naji's the dark horse.
There's one more. There's one more.
Who?
Monte. I mean, we kind of feel like we know what we're getting. Maybe
What
more out
about
of
Will
Monte.
Barton?
Well, we don't know. I mean,
We don't know.
is he on the team?
We don't know.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
If he's on, if he's on?
Yeah, I think the most likely answer is probably Aaron Gordon, but I think it has the potential to be PJ Dozier because, there's that starting spot that's maybe up for grabs depending on if Will Barton comes back. I feel like Dozier could be a candidate for that starting spot. And I just feel like he's got a lot of untapped potential. I really, really do. I think he's got a really high ceiling that he's only beginning to scratch. Offensively, you can kind of see where his game can go, or at least I can. I really feel like he can fill the Will Barton role for this team. Defensively, we've seen how good he can be. So I think PJ Dozier can be a starting level player in the NBA, and he kind of fits a niche on this team and a role that they don't have anyone to play right now. So I think Dozier's impact next season is going to be way above what it is right now. The other guy is Aaron Gordon for me, just because, he's going to play 30 minutes a night and be a big focus defensively.
What say you, D-Line?
I got to go Monte. I got to go Tay. He's for the reasons you said. He's going to be the two of those. PJ Dozier and Monte are going to be probably the two vying for that starting point guard position. And you got to think that anybody who's the starting point guard has the biggest opportunity for the most impact, right? He showed us a lot in these last playoffs. He came a big, and we're just seeing him getting more and more comfortable. Just as an NBA level player, we're just seeing him do more and more the more opportunities he's given. And he has a big opportunity coming up this next year with Jamal being sidelined for so long. So give me Tay, bro.
I think if Barton walks, PJ Dozier becomes the most important question mark X factor.
Golly.
Sort of fill that in.
Does he just become a starter?
That's sort of what I'm getting at, right? Isn't he your starting two at that point?
Do we like that?
Yeah, if Barton walks, I think your best starting backcourt would be Monte Morris, PJ Dozier, and I don't think there's a real argument for anyone else.
Right?
Is Austin Rivers coming back?
The Nuggets would like him back. They want to bring him back.
Would PJ Dozier have been playing those minutes that
I think
Austin
so.
Rivers was
Dude,
taking?
I think so. Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely.
The Nuggets want they want this to work out. At the very least, they want to find out what they've got in him. You know, it's something they're looking to gather more data on for sure. Okay, this is on me, right, to ask more questions.
Yeah, let's go through maybe 2 more questions. We have the super chat to get to as well. Thank you, Kale. Hot take: MPJ makes the All-Star team next season. This is from Yov Ben Noun. Does MPJ make the All-Star team next season, guys?
I'll say no to next season, but I do think it happens sooner rather than later.
I would say Jamal Murray has never made an All-Star team. And he's never really even been threatening. I don't think that MPJ is particularly close to making an all-star team at this rate.
I'd say it's very unlikely. It is possible because Jamal Murray is going to miss most likely every game up until the All-Star game next year, and Michael Porter Jr. is definitely going to average over 20 a game. If the Nuggets are the 1 seed in the West when voting gets tallied, when the votes get tallied, yeah, maybe, but I have a tough time seeing that happening. So I'd say unlikely.
Okay, we got a homie who asks us. Oh, give me 1 second. I lost it. 2 seconds. Gregor wants to know, what's your top 5 from the 2018 draft now that we've seen more from these guys and seen some big playoff performances from these guys? And this is really interesting because I think the answer to like the number 1 pick, I'll look, if I was a team, veil of ignorance, know nothing about my roster, you know, I'm just picking my first superstar, it's Luka. But there's literally no world in which the Suns are regretting taking DeAndre Ayton number 1 overall right now, right? No chance.
No chance, dude. He's full. I put on Twitter that he's a totally worthy number 1 overall pick. I mean, outside of agnostic of what else happened in that draft, like, because you could say, like, looking at that specific draft, he should not have been the number 1 overall pick. But as far as like how good of a player he is, he's absolutely a number 1 overall pick caliber player. DeAndre Ayton is so impressive to me. He's just like really grown up in front of our eyes. Like, you remember the first time that he and Jokic were matched up and he just absolutely destroyed. Like, when you get that perfect triple double or something, like, it was just an absolute clowning, to the point now where, you know, he is as important a factor in that Suns office as any other piece.
Yeah. Looking at the 2018 draft here. So yeah, I'd still go Luka first. You probably got to go Trae Young second after these playoffs.
I think Ayton goes 3.
8 and 3. Ayton just so solid, man. So solid.
He knows exactly what he's. So like the guy that drops out of the top 5 for sure is Marvin Bagley. Like, that's easy. But then Jaren Jackson too, like, that's hardly been what the draft folks sort of were hoping for when he went to Memphis. Obviously Memphis seeing some success, but it's not really necessarily like predicated on how well Jackson plays right now. And then there's 2 names, right? There's Michael Porter Jr. and there's SGA. And where do they fit into that? I mean, I think those 2 slide into the top 5 in my opinion. And those 2 bigs I mentioned are out at that point.
Oh yeah, that's pretty clear. It's pretty clear.
Yeah. But yeah, I do think MPJ probably goes 4 or 5 to get to the point of the question. Find one more for us here. Dun. Oh, that one's just going to make us mad. I'm going to skip that one. Jared wants to know, former players turned head coaches is a new trend as of late. Are there any former players we could see taking an assistant coach position with the Nuggets?
Any former Nuggets players?
I assume that's sort of at the heart of the question. I don't know.
Any guys you feel like?
I know Birdman Anderson lives in Denver. I had dinner at the same restaurant as him.
I think he might be last on my list of former players to hire as an assistant coach.
How about this? Because I can't think of any former players right now. Who on the Nuggets would make the best head coach?
Monte Morris. Next question.
Monte. Yeah, I would say Monte.
Maybe that wasn't as good of a question as I thought, because it's clearly Monte Morris.
Zeke Nnaji, we'll have to find out, but I can see him growing into a player that we talk about that way. You know,
Paul Millsap. Would Paul Millsap be not only a great locker room guy doing revealing the starting lineup through magic, things like that, would he also be a good assistant coach?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
I think Paul Millsap would be great at anything that he put his mind to.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's also insightful. Like, he is very quiet, like soft spoken, and that can be conflated with doesn't have a lot to say. But one of the first things I learned in that locker room was like, oh, you should actually really listen closely when Paul speaks. Okay, one last one for us before we get to the paywall.
I just have a quick comment here. Brandon Spano, CEO of this company, just came in and microwave bombed me. He heated up some sort of meat product and then just left.
Hope it was Wagyu. Don't put that in the microwave.
It was it was not Wagyu. I'll say that.
That's a move that only a CEO of a company can pull.
Yeah,
go into a small office and just nuke the microwave with some
post honeymoon. You're just like, these guys, man.
Yeah. And I'm just left to deal with it.
Oscar in the comments throws out Mike Miller. Really good suggestion right there.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion for sure. All right, one more for us, guys, then we'll get to the paywall section. Keenan wants to know, Paul Millsap, vet minimum or gone?
Gone.
What
are we getting out of Paul Millsap?
No, I mean, I'm probably saying gone as well. Like, I would just like to get somebody different on a minimum. Yeah. But I wonder what happens if Paul Millsap's like, I would love to come back on a minimum. I wonder what would happen. If the Nuggets would be like, yes or no.
He would have to then be player coach. Like, he'd have to be Mike Miller. He'd have to be Richard Jefferson. Like, he's not going to
play him. That's the thing. It's like almost a Torrey Craig kind of deal, I feel like. But
yeah.
I mean, the Nuggets aren't going to need him in their rotation next year. They've got Zeke Naji. They've got JaMychal Green, who does have a player option. But, I mean, my thinking is he'll maybe pick that up. So I don't think they need Paul Millsap. I don't think he'd be in the rotation. I don't think he would play every night. But I feel like he would want to finish his career in Denver. And I also feel like he probably still wants to play. So we'll see.
Yeah, he just didn't have anything to offer at the end of the season, sadly. I love Paul Millsap. I'm a big Paul Millsap guy, but it just feels like it has run its course. I don't want it to sound like anything negative towards Paul Millsap, but every career must come to an end, and I think that we've unfortunately hit that point with Paul.
Man, Paul Millsap respecter logging off. I wonder if Paul will keep going. He is the most games logged, most playoff games ever without winning a ring, NBA history.
Yeah, are we keeping Paul Millsap?
Talk to you.
I hope not. I love Paul. He's one of my all-time faves, but I'm with Eric. He didn't really have anything left at the end. There was no really gas left in the tank, unfortunately.
You turned on your mic for an ultra bummer take.
Yeah,
Can he not be the Udonis Haslem of the Nuggets?
I mean, he could, but I feel like he's gonna want more playtime than that, and we're not gonna be able to offer him that.
Maybe he might be down to just sort of finish what he started on this roster. But hey, listen, guys, we'll save the good stuff for the paywall. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that's going to wrap up today's Monday show. But we are going to go for 15 more minutes answering more questions, many more questions behind the paywall on thednvr.com. We're going to log off of here and record that privately and then post it just for DNVR members. So if you really want answers to the good questions, if you really want the juicy details, sign up to be a member on thednvr.com/subscribe. That's where we'll post.
This is
the next
only
15 minutes of this podcast.
This is only for our fans. This is our only fans section.
I knew he was gonna get there. Here we go. For those who want Eric's 10-minute fringe conservative cancel culture rant, don't go anywhere.
With that.